We have an exciting episode today because I'm joined here by my lovely husband.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm always excited to be on your podcast.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How does it feel? You're a father.
Yeah,
Does that still take a while to sink in?
Randomly.
Yeah.
Randomly.
Like this is your official third Father's Day.
Yeah, that's wild. I think I always told you my fear, right, when I was a little kid. So I was always like the short kid, and I would tell my mom, like, because my brother was tall and worked out and stuff, and I'd be like, when am I going to be tall? All my friends are tall. Bruno's tall. When am I going to be tall? And she would, like hug me or whatever. And I was always worried that when I got married, I wasn't going to be able to carry my wife through the front door.
Yeah,
I've told you
that.
this, yeah. And then, like, senior year of high school, I had this growth spurt. And then you start to like, oh yeah, I'll be strong enough. I'll be able to do it. But thinking of myself as a father, it's weird sometimes.
Yeah. I saw this like meme floating around that was saying my daughter's only allowed to have 3 friends: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Like that's it. Or 3 male friends or something like that. Made me think of you. So Vito's on this podcast because we're talking about the pregnancy that we just announced on social media. So if you don't follow me there, then you're hearing it here that we're expecting baby number 3 in November.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you too. And we're trying something new. So we're recording at our kids' tiny art table.
Arts and crafts table. It's beautiful.
And having a video going, but we don't have like the perfect setup, but it'll
I'm
be okay.
building out your studio.
Right, which I'm really excited about.
Which is going to be amazing.
So I have it like old school here. I printed the questions out on paper. I just want to thank everybody for submitting questions. And we're going to get into all of it.
I'm pumped.
How do you feel about having baby number 3 first?
So the first one kind of rocked my world. Right.
Yeah.
And then everything with the NICU. So it was just crazy. The second one, I feel like I was waiting for something bad to happen.
Like at the birth or just after or just
at the
altogether?
birth, after the birth. But it never did. It's been great. And I think 2 has been manageable because we're, what do they call it? We're man-on-man defense right now. So I got 1, you got 1. The third definitely has my ears perked, I guess you would say. Like, I'm not nervous, but
yeah,
I'm nervous. Who's kidding?
Well,
I'm nervous.
One of the questions was, are you nervous from going 2 to 3?
Yeah.
Because you're officially outnumbered. But I feel like there's a transition period because honestly, like the first 3 to 4 months, the babies just kind of sleep wherever, whenever. Like I remember there was a couple times like you weren't home after I had Tula and I was putting Jovi down and she was in that newborn sleepy phase. So I literally just brought her in her bouncer, sat her on the, like put her in the floor on Jovi's room while I put Jovi down. And then I like picked her up and took her out. So I feel like the youngest ones just kind of like along for the ride.
Yeah.
Until that like official, more of a routine type thing is established. And
yeah,
even now, like a couple times that you've been out of town, like I've figured it out, doing 2 by myself. So
you'll figure out 3 too.
You're
gonna have
you're
to.
never leaving.
You're gonna have to. I have to go to work.
Well, yeah, go to work, but the only time I've really put them down by myself is when we've been out of town.
Sure.
So that's what I'm talking about, more like the sleep thing. But we'll figure it out.
Well, hopefully, yeah, we'll see because the first 2 are gonna share a room. At some point.
Well, so these are the questions that people are asking.
Yeah,
so we'll just dive into it. So how did we know that we were ready for another one?
How much have you gotten into? How much have you shared?
I haven't talked about anything on here.
Oh, okay. So do you want to tell the story?
You can.
Okay, so
I don't know what story you're telling.
No, you were like, I want to wait at least a year. And
yes.
I was like, okay,
yes.
9 months is fine. And you're like, no, at least a year, at least a year. And you're going to tell me that I'm lying, like you always do, but I'm not lying. Right? You said, I want to wait a year.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, turned a year.
Yeah.
Tula's first birthday, a year. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And you're like, no. we have to do at least 18 months or whatever you said.
But let me interject really quick because first of all, I did the calculations, and if we got pregnant, she turned 1 in March. And I'm like, if we get pregnant in March, the baby's going to be due December 20th. We're like, we really don't want a Christmas baby. Nothing against Christmas babies at all. Just the holidays.
More for travel.
Right. The holidays are just chaos. And we're like, let's just wait until we agreed to wait another month. Yes.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
We said, let's not do March because you even said, let's not do March because we'll have a December baby. December 20th would have been the due date. So we're like, let's not, according to like my ovulation.
Yeah.
We're like, let's start in April. Even though I was like.
Well, you were like, let's do July.
Yeah, I was trying to push it.
And I was like, no, this is crazy. Let's just do it. Right. So you had like passed your ovulation and everything. And I was like, whatever. I'm like, a December baby, whatever. It's fine. I think is what we ended up saying. Like,
we never said that.
Yeah, because you were
in my mind, I was like, we're not trying to conceive until April.
Okay. So either way, we
celebrated her first birthday. Little did I know,
Liz and I love each other.
I was already pregnant.
Yeah, Liz and I love each other, so we're very much like
we have a great sex life.
We're always hands on. We're always hands on. Right?
Yes.
So. And then we were laying in bed one night and we were both talking. We're like, it would have been nice if we got pregnant last month or last ovulation. Right? I remember having this conversation.
I don't remember this conversation.
Because we were saying, tried not to get a December baby.
I think I was probably, I get in those moods where I'm just like, all right, let's just do it.
Yeah, you're like, well, it would have been ideal if we had got pregnant last month or last ovulation. And then the next day you took a pregnancy test, forgot you took it.
Because I didn't think I was pregnant at all. So like we celebrated Tula's first birthday. Little did I know I was already like a week. It would have been like 7 days post. And then just for kicks and giggles, because I bought like 1,000 pack of pregnancy tests on Amazon. So I basically take one every single month just because I'm paranoid. And so I was like past my period when I would have gotten it. But my cycles have been longer this time around, and so I didn't think much of it. I'm like, oh, I should have gotten my period if it was a 28-day cycle. I'm like, I would get my period today, or it was like right around there. So I took a test, went downstairs, forgot about it till I came back up later to put one of the girls down to sleep, and walked in and I was like, no freaking way.
Yeah, I remember I laughed a lot that day.
I took a picture of it, and every single time I'm like, oh, I want to do something cute to tell Vito, but I just like don't. I just like text you. I'm like, I'm pregnant. Like I can't like do something cute. And you were just.
I was laughing. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that you were pregnant until legit your first ultrasound.
Right.
Where
and
I was
even
like,
then,
nah.
Even then, I feel like you were like, I don't know.
Yeah. I was like, no way.
So,
because you had convinced me that this app is foolproof and I've been tracking, so it's impossible. And then, so I was like, all right, I'll buy into this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all fake.
We're going to answer.
You can get pregnant at any time.
That's not
at
true.
any time, anywhere.
So what had happened
any
was,
method.
Somebody did ask if I was using ovulation strips.
Even if you're on top.
Somebody asked if I was using ovulation testing, and I was, but to actively prevent. I was wearing my Ava bracelet and using ovulation strips, which both already said that I had ovulated. So they lied to me.
Both of them.
Yeah, they both lied to me. So, trust nothing, trust no one. That's what I'm saying. But I think how we knew that we were ready for another is because we want a big family. Like we would like to have 4 kids. And I think for me, age plays into that. I'm 36 and I don't think that that's old to be having kids at all. But I would like to be done by the time I'm 40. Just because I love spending time with you.
Yeah.
And not that I don't love spending time with our kids.
Yeah.
But I also don't give myself breaks in between. Like I've been breastfeeding every single day for
So I
forever.
I kind of go back and forth on that. Today I had the feeling we should have 7 kids. I did. I had a legitimate.
Yeah, and I told
I
you
had like
if
an
the last few
epiphany.
are adopted, I'm down.
No, I had an epiphany where I forgot what I was working. I was listening to music or something, and I was like, 7's a good number.
Yeah, you know what it is? I agree with that. It's 4 kids, you, me, and Hutch. That's 7.
No, 7 children. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, and then tomorrow I'm sure it'll be like, let's just do 3.
Tomorrow you're gonna be like, what are we getting into?
Right, yeah. We're nuts.
Let's just do 3.
Is crazy.
You've never said let's just do 3.
But you understand what I'm saying. Like,
yes.
It changes.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think just because we're ready and I like the closeness and the age of our kids, I wanted to give myself like a year this time. In an ideal world, I'd give myself 18 months between each kid just to make sure that like my nutrient stores are completely back up and everything. But like I said, just age and then even not knowing, because we've had previous miscarriages, it's like we don't want to wait too long.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it just because it happens the first time,
right,
on the first time, doesn't mean that it's going to happen the first time on the second time or whatever.
Right. So a lot of people ask, like, were we actively trying? Were we trying? And we were actively not trying, but we were planning on it very soon. But somebody wanted to know, like, compared to past times. So we've been very, very fortunate in our fertility journey that when we've tried, we've gotten pregnant. However, a couple of those have been miscarriages. Mm-hmm. So that's what made me really, really scared this time, and like not believing it. You and I joked a lot at the beginning. We're like, who keeps pranking us with these positive pregnancy tests? How are all these wrong? And kind of like laughing about it. But it's because the first time we tried, I got pregnant, had a miscarriage, then we had Jovi. And then the next time we tried, got pregnant, had a miscarriage, then we had Tula. So I'm like, so the pattern is...
Right. I was fully prepared that that was going to
miscarriage.
happen again. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's why it was hard for me to believe it. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, no, it's supposed to be...
Right. Or like you just also don't want to get your hopes up, or...
Right.
Even if it is true, it's like, you know, who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
And somebody asked about that, like how to not have anxiety, like when does the anxiety go away? Because they're at the beginning of their pregnancy. And I think it's different for each person, and it depends on the journey that you've been through. Like if you've had past losses, some people feel that way their entire pregnancy. Mm-hmm. If you've struggled with fertility and had trouble getting pregnant, I know a lot of people that have also struggled with that their entire pregnancy. And everybody's so different. So I feel like what flipped for me was actually I got asked to like go on another podcast on Unapologetically Unmedicated. If you want to go listen to it, it's on suffering versus surrendering. And so I was writing out a script for that, and I was like, man, I really just have to like surrender, because the worrying and the anxiety doesn't serve me. It does nothing for me. It's not going to change any circumstances. And actually, like, the stress on my body does affect me. I'm not saying the stress on my body would cause a miscarriage, but the stress on your body, like, is interpreted into your body. You know, like, you want to try to have as much of a stress-free pregnancy as you can, which is also why I'm always talking about like finding good providers and ones who aren't stressing you out and making you feel bad and things like that, because that's not good. So yeah, I feel like I finally was just like, okay, I need to surrender. And but we also had some like weird things happen in the beginning. At the first ultrasound, they found a really large cyst on my ovary. Mm-hmm. And so that was freaking me out. It was like a 3.5-4 inch cyst on my right ovary. I've never dealt with cysts before. They didn't seem too concerned about it, but they're basically like, if you experience excruciating pain, go to the emergency room, because it can like wrap around your organs, or maybe it burst. And I'm pretty positive that one night that it burst, because I was on the floor in a ball,
I remember,
like sweating profusely. It was weird. So they were monitoring that. So I ended up getting another ultrasound a month later, and the large cyst was gone, and there was just like 2 smaller cysts that weren't of any concern at all. So the beginning, I was just like, they're like, the cyst won't impact the baby, but your mind still like goes.
Yeah.
You know, the cyst was bigger than my uterus.
Yeah. I think it's important. I listen to your podcast. I think it's very interesting from a male perspective, even though a lot of the stuff I can't relate to. But I think it's important for you to express your just everything that you go through, because as much as you bring people on who do talk about mental health and who do talk about things you can do to mitigate stress or whatever, you're still, you still have that stress, and you still, you go through it just like everybody else does. And I think that what I've noticed with you is when you get something that could potentially be bad news, it's bad news to you. Mm-hmm. Where for me, I was like, I kind of play off the vibe of the provider. Mm-hmm. If they're not concerned, I'm not concerned.
Yeah.
If they're like questioning things, then I get worried. Where with you, you're like, right. I've never had this, so this is going to kill me.
They were like, I know people who have had cysts burst and had to get an ambulance to come pick them up because they were in so much pain.
Right.
That's why for me, I'm like, I'm just waiting till I'm like walking down the stairs carrying Tula.
Yeah. No, what you do bursts. Is you'll go like on a Googling rabbit hole, and you'll be like, I can lose my ovaries if it gets too big. Like you spiral. Like a lot of people do. That's what I'm saying. It's good that you share that, because it's normal. It's right. I don't know if it's healthy to do that. For me,
I like to have all the information.
Right. Which sometimes, like you're saying, it's surrender.
Yeah.
You don't need the information. Be informed.
It's good to know what's going on.
Be informed, but when you're like on page 37 of WebMD and you're like, okay. Vito, look at this. And then you're like sweating and pale.
I don't deep dive that hard.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, actually we'll come back to that one. But after a miscarriage, how long you should wait to try to conceive. And I'm actually going to link a podcast in the show notes that I had on Lindsay Meisel with, because that's like a common misconception that even some providers will tell you, unless there's some unknown, like some underlying thing. But if it's just like you had a normal miscarriage, you're actually not supposed to wait unless you're not emotionally ready. But physically, you have a higher chance of trying to conceive in the next 4 months if you start trying again right away versus if you wait 4 months, which is what a lot of doctors, again, tell their patients, like wait 4 months, then try again. So there's some different research on that, but I'm not the expert. I'm going to link the podcast with Lindsay Meisel, and she talks about that a lot more. So you can listen to that and get more information there.
Do you know the reasoning why they say to wait 4 months? Like what's their reasoning?
No, but honestly, I mean, I don't know why a lot of OBs say the stuff they do.
Yeah. Well, usually you know why they are saying it. Like they're going off of a study that
was done in the 1700s.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I was curious why they.
No, but I mean, I know with mine, like my midwives were like, no, you don't need to wait.
And we know people who have had miscarriages, and their providers, their OBs said, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But I've also had people be like, well, my OB said I need to wait 4 months. I'm like, did they tell you why?
Yeah.
Like I would just ask, people were asking if we need to get a different vehicle because of our kids. But what we did was a couple years ago, we knew we wanted a big family, so we bought a larger vehicle. Plus we road trip down to Texas and bring our dog and a bunch of stuff with us. So we kind of prepared ahead of time for that. Because up until we had Tula, we just had a car.
Yeah.
I can't believe that it's like hard picturing now just driving Jovi around in my Kia.
It scares me because what had happened was that winter when you were pregnant, we got a lot of snow.
My car couldn't even make it up the driveway.
Not only that, but when we're coming off of our street onto the main road, the snow was piled higher than your car. And I remember I was driving somewhere.
Even see if traffic
in order to go left or right, you have to be in the lane. You have to inch so far forward before you can see it. I'm like, this is crazy. Right. We need a 4-wheel drive truck.
Well, and I moved here from Vegas, so I didn't need 4-wheel drive. There's not winters there like here.
Right.
So my car didn't have 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was right before we had Tula. We got an SUV, a larger SUV with 4-wheel drive and all of that. So we planned ahead. We're like, okay, if we want to fit 4 cars in here.
Right. We're like, let's just bite the bullet. Let's take care of this car. It'll last us 10 years.
At least.
Forever. But we have to we got the monthly pass to the car wash. It's like a $3 car wash that you can keep up with it. And hopefully we stay on top of the oil changes and everything, because I think if you stay on top of it, they'll last forever.
Take care of it for sure. A lot of people were wondering if we tried the Babydust method. So
we were talking about it. This is the thing, guys. We just, can't keep our hands to ourselves. So we were talking about, we're like, all right, what if because you were trying to explain it to me. I listened to the podcast, couldn't follow it.
I can't tell you how many times a week I think about you, and the song "Can't Keep My Hands to Myself" pops in my head, and I'm like, I just can't. And so if you guys, I'll link that podcast in the show notes too. So there's this thing called gender swaying, where you can try to conceive for a boy or for a girl. So people are asking if we're trying for a boy this time. And the reason I was tracking my ovulation, I was charting it because that's part of trying for a boy or a girl, because you have to have sex at certain times, certain days, things like that. And you need to track it for a few months before you start trying. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start tracking. Yeah. And then in April, we'll try it. So we didn't this time.
The lady you had on was very convincing, and it sounds like she has a very successful track record.
Right.
But I couldn't follow, like, are you supposed to be out? But basically what I understood was, look at your past births, figure out when you did it, and then if you want a different result, do something different.
No.
Okay.
Not even close.
So maybe
listen to the episode. I haven't linked it. The book is like such an easy read too. But honestly, like, we don't care. We just thought it'd be fun to see
healthy babies.
If it worked.
Healthy babies, healthy mama.
But I mean, when looking, I don't even know for sure when I conceived, because I was lied to. So I don't know. So who knows what we'll have this time, but we're excited. People are also wondering what we did to prepare. So we're big on, like, not just, hey, we're ready to have a baby, let's do it. Really focusing on health.
Prenatals, diet, hydration,
movement, sleep. So I don't think I talked about this on here yet, but so after Tula, my pregnancy with Tula, I did not feel great, especially at the beginning. But I think a part of that too was I was really grieving the miscarriage, and toward the end, I feel like I was fine. I was in a really good space toward the end. I was doing these meditations that really, really helped. Hold on, these chairs are so uncomfortable. They're so tiny.
We're like a foot off the ground, not even. My knees are in my chest.
This is like a squatty potty chair. I was in a good space when I had Tula, but after I had her, I just knew that I really needed to start replenishing nutrient stores and being on top of that if we were going to try in a year. So around the 6-month mark, I started taking that, like, really seriously. And I also got my cycle back at 6 months. So I was still nursing Tula. My cycle came back at 6 months. It was very regular. It was about every 31 days. So longer than a 28-day cycle this time. But at about 6 months, I was making sure that I was getting in at least 30 grams of protein in the morning for breakfast, which is really, really important. If you've listened to my podcast or follow me on Instagram, I've talked about it before. It's so important for balancing your blood sugar in the morning, which affects your hormones. Doing that before you have caffeine, before you have a cup of coffee in the morning. And Vito can attest to this. After, like, really focusing on that, didn't my libido get better?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I think for a long time I wasn't like, I've never been like, no, we're not having sex. But I wouldn't like initiate. I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I'm down.
Yeah, which is very attractive. It like really sends me to the moon when you do that. No, I think you've always been healthy when it comes to that.
Down to clown.
But when you're ovulating, it's like, whoa.
Right.
Slow down. I never say that, but it's like, it's really aggressive. And I feel like once you started eating a lot more protein, it was not just when you were ovulating, it was like every day.
It wasn't every
which was
day.
great.
It wasn't every
day. You were like aggressive. You were way more aggressive every day. Oops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where usually it's just like on your ovulation. I'd be like, oh, Liz is ovulating.
Obviously.
I would know. But then I was like, yo, it's been like 3 weeks.
Right,
She's been super aggressive this whole time. So
you're describing, I wouldn't describe myself as super aggressive.
No, I think you've leveled out.
Just
I think
like
in the beginning,
sexual advances.
Right. In the beginning, I think it was new and you had like all this energy and whatever it was. So I don't know what was going through your mind or whatever.
No, it's just from like nourishing myself, because I think before that it's really easy as a mom. And I would tell you some days it'd be like 2:00 in the afternoon and I hadn't eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I ate a little bit of toast left over on Jovi's plate and all I had was coffee that day. Yeah. And then I'm a monster. Like, no wonder I don't feel great. No wonder I don't have energy. So I've really focused on, I don't do it within an hour of waking up, because normally I grab Tula, we'll nurse in bed. Like, I don't even get downstairs
till
it's
slow
been
mornings.
Like, till I've been up for over an hour, because I have to get dressed, brush our teeth. Yeah. But once we get downstairs and kind of get settled, like I start on breakfast, and sometimes I'll even snack while I'm making breakfast. Mm-hmm. So getting in that protein and really, really focusing on replenishing nutrient stores.
Yeah. I think that's a very important distinction too, like nutrition and not just eating in the morning, not just getting your calories in, but getting actual nutrition.
Right. Well, and I'm actually going to have somebody on to talk about this, because one thing I just didn't worry about either was weight. I know like a lot of people are eager to drop the baby weight after having a baby. And especially if you're nursing, that's not the time to do it. Your body actually requires more calories breastfeeding than it does when you're pregnant. And a lot of people don't know that. And if you just focus on nourishing yourself, like, I think that that's the big key. And I've also interviewed and talked to a lot of people who, like, I actually heard this on somebody else's podcast, and she's like, your most fertile weight might not be your fittest weight. Because she was like crazy CrossFitter, working out all the time, doing like pre-workouts, all this stuff, and she couldn't get pregnant. She actually had to like put on some weight.
Isn't that a thing with long distance runners? Or did I just make that up?
That could be. There are some people who like they run so much they lose their periods, or like work out so much they lose their periods.
Wow.
And if you're not cycling, then you can't get pregnant. But fertility really looks supple. It doesn't look like a 6-pack, and that's like such a common like misconception. And I'm not saying if you have a 6-pack that you can't get pregnant.
Right,
Everybody's bodies and genes are different, but in general, women are built very, very different. And we need nutrient stores to have babies and to feed them.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're nourished is really, really important. So for us, preparing was vitamins. Mm-hmm. He took the men's from, you guys know I'm a big fan of Needed, the prenatal Needed, which I'll link in the show notes. I have a discount code. Taking those for me prenatally, for Vito, the men's supplements. And just, I worked on mineral stores. I actually did a mineral course to try to replenish my mineral stores, because those get really depleted in pregnancy and postpartum. So drinking things like bone broth. Oh, that was the other thing. When I was like having my crazy libido, I was eating the protein in the morning, and every night before bed I was drinking like a cup of bone broth or a cup of golden milk, and like just really focusing on minerals and stuff like that. But we really worked on just nourishing ourselves. I feel like that's really what we did to prepare.
It's definitely a number one priority for you in our life is
for
supplements. For us, for just our whole family.
Yeah.
Is health.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Let's see. Was I still nursing? Yes. Tips to focus on pregnancy and staying healthy when you're busy. I think getting in that breakfast is really important because that fuels you for the day.
I had an epiphany. I've been having epiphanies.
You're so smart, boo.
It's not an intelligence thing, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to drink a gallon of water a day.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been doing that and it's not enough.
Which before then you were drinking like 70 ounces.
Right. Wasn't even close, but it's not even enough, a gallon for me.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is I don't crave sugar and I am like a sugar fiend.
Yeah.
So it's been,
You are a sugar fiend.
Hutch, it's been very, very interesting that the more water I drink, the less I crave anything bad.
Yeah.
And also, talking about staying healthy and stuff when you're busy, you have, and what I've been doing, so you don't have to do anything, but what I've been doing is I was like, all right, I'm going to gift myself not eating garbage. Like that's a gift to me. Where before I would think about it and I would say like, all right, you can't have any more donuts because Thornton's gas station is the best donuts. Low key. Liz, you drink gas station coffee.
Okay, I haven't in a
Okay,
long
it's
time.
right next to the coffee.
Right.
They're delicious. They're fresh first thing in the morning. Okay, either way.
Okay.
So they have really good donuts. And I would just be like, no more donuts. You can't do donuts. This is ridiculous. Which I've had a whole shtick on debating with myself about donuts. But then I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to gift myself not eating crap.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I like maybe have an urge to, I'm like, no, gift yourself not doing it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm treating myself, which usually I feel like I'm treating myself if I do get the donut.
Treat yourself.
You understand?
Yeah.
It's a different.
Right.
It's different.
Good for you.
So I've been doing really good.
I'm excited for you.
Even today when I got home, it was a really long, hard day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I just need a beer. And I was like, no, gift yourself not drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
And I came in, chugged the water, and I was like, I'm good.
That was another thing we did. Like we pretty much like cut out alcohol. Neither of us are big drinkers in general. I have a drink like on my birthday, for our anniversary, maybe a special occasion here or there. But
I don't know how people drink.
Yeah, alcohol affects your
sick.
fertility for sure. Yeah, you get.
Even hangovers. Like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to have a hangover?
Who like don't get that. They drink.
I don't
and they're
believe
fine.
it. No.
But I definitely get what you're saying. I feel like I see it a little bit different. Like I'll eat really healthy, and then I'm like, oh, if I'm craving something, I'm like, oh, I'll have that.
That's how I used to do it.
Yeah.
But then I just drank a ton of water. I'm like, I'm not even hungry. I don't even want.
I've been drinking a lot more water
sugar.
the last few days too, since I started using that half gallon. So I drink a big glass jar of water like overnight and in the morning, and then that half gallon during the day.
I'm over a gallon and a half, and I still cramp at night.
But you labor for a living. You work really, really hard. So again, planning to get pregnant in September, tips to prepare, focus on nourishing yourself, not just you, your partner. People underestimate the role of the sperm. So again, if you've been following me on Instagram, I talked about sperm health a lot this last week. Sperm can affect your fertility, affect miscarriage, affect all of that. So, and I would recommend following accounts on Instagram like ttc.nutritionist. She's awesome. Or Naturally Nora. I've had both of them on the podcast, and they just have tons of amazing free content to help you optimize your egg health and everything like that. Tips for low egg preserves. Honestly, I don't know tons about that. So I would say focus on nutrition again, following like ttc.nutritionist. She works with people like that and helps them get pregnant. So I don't know too much about it. Did we use a lubricant like pre-seed? So pre-seed is a lubricant that's supposed to like help the semen. Zoop.
Do what?
Help it get up there better. Pre-seed. It just like holds in your semen, or I'm not sure actually what it does. But no, we did not use that.
Huh.
So.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Is it natural? Is it like all natural stuff?
I have no idea. How did you
It
find
is
out?
wild what kind of products are out there.
I know.
I've never heard of that.
Do you know how I thought about announcing the pregnancy?
How?
Which isn't how it happened. but showing the box of condoms next to your bed that expired 2 years ago.
They're expired. I don't even know why they're there. I don't even know why.
Like showing the expiration date on the condoms, then showing our baby announcement and being like, yeah.
Those are there literally as like a nightstand decoration. I don't know why they're there.
I mean, now they're expired, so we can just throw them
What?
away. It's not like they're going to be good anymore. And then how do we handle 2 under 2?
With a gracious heart.
Honestly, the transition wasn't as bad as I thought, especially at the beginning. I feel like Jovi did really, really great with adding Tula to our family. The beginning, I feel like, was pretty easy. Now it's a little more challenging because they fight a lot more.
Here's how you handle 2 under 2. I'll give you parenting advice.
Okay.
Ready? Because I'm a very experienced parent now.
Obviously.
Yeah. You have a united front.
Oh, yeah. That's
I think
very,
it's
very
extremely
important.
that you and your spouse, and if you do it as often as you need to, daily, hourly, by the minute, whatever you need to do, you and your spouse commit to each other and get on the same page. We are on the same team. We both want what's best for our family. We both want what's best for each other. And you attack the day with that mindset.
Yeah.
2 under 2 is not easy, right? But it doesn't have to be hard. It can be difficult at times.
For sure.
But as long as, I think, if you and your spouse are on the same page and you both want, like, I want to lift you up and I want you to be the best mom you can be. And I know that you want me to be the best dad I can be. And however I can help you, I'll do it. And however you can help me, you'll do it. And if I see you struggling or I see you getting overwhelmed, I step in.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Right.
Like the other day.
You're the
Oh
look
my
you
God.
gave me.
Tula is so
You were
loud.
done. You were
She
like,
like wasn't even, no crying. Her voice is just loud and screechy.
Is a party girl. She enjoys life to the fullest. She's so loud, just always having a good time.
And I had a loud day.
lot.
I had a loud day at work.
Yeah.
And like to the point where my ears were still ringing when I was getting home. And then it was just echoing and I was like, get me out of here. I can't do this. I'm done. And it was quick. It was like within 10 minutes of me being home, I was like, I'm done. I'm out. Like, I can't do this. I mean, we laughed about it.
Right.
Where sometimes as a couple, it's easy to be like, no, like,
right.
And then you start fighting. The couple starts fighting.
Right.
And that's not going to help.
We definitely
raising
tap each
2 under
other
2.
out. And I think along with the united front too is especially like in front of the kids. So if I'm handling a situation that you don't necessarily agree with or vice versa, I'm not telling you in the moment.
Right.
You know, I'm not like, hey, like, I'm not like, oh, no, like, what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not taking our kids' side over yours.
Right.
I'm taking your side. And then if there's something I disagree with, we can talk about it later. But I think that that's really important, like in front of the kids.
And if you think about like exhaustion, let's say, right? We got 2 under 2. What makes it hard is ultimately is your mindset, right? It's in the moment when in your mind you're having a thoughts of I can't do this or I give up, right? And sometimes like the other day I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I was like,
have
I'm
that
done.
thought a lot. I'm
Right.
like, tap.
But I think that a lot of the time you can do it.
For sure.
And it's just a mindset shift.
Right.
And I think if we can come, for us at least, I'll speak about us, when it comes for 2 under 2, a lot of the time we sometimes look at our kids and we're like, oh, you're talking, you're walking, you're putting away clothes, you're throwing away garbage. You're basically a human. You're an adult.
Well, they are.
Well, right. Like you're an adult. Like we kind of
But
push
I feel
them
like
forward in our
Jovi,
mind.
like understands more than she does. She understands a lot.
And she's still 2.
Right. Exactly.
So that's where
So it's like I expect her to act like an older kid sometimes.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is like
Right.
you also have to remember, hey, they're still children. They have no idea how to process their emotions. They're figuring this out. I'm 30 something and I'm still figuring out. So how am I going to look at my kid and be like, no, you know better? It's like, no, But then if you're able to look at that with compassion, it's easier to manage the situation.
Right.
Like when one of your kids keeps hitting the other one at 202, or like the older one rolls on top of the younger one and like won't get off of them. It's not that she's like a bad child, right? Like she's figuring it out. She's like has this urge to roll on. I roll on you sometimes. I think it's hilarious. I'm 30 something. I'm 32.
This week.
Okay, I'm 32. I think that's hilarious.
Right.
Okay. So our kid has the urge. You know, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Have compassion.
Right. I think.
And patience.
Also, like, it helps when you're aware of your own triggers and stuff, too. Which parenting has brought up a lot for me. But then I feel like I've worked through a lot and gotten so much better. And there's still work that I have to do. But just being like, okay, what is this saying about me? Why does this feel so hard right now? And a lot of times it's because I feel like I don't have control over my life. Like my kids are out of control. I'm out of control. But my job is not to control my kids. And that's like what I remind myself of. I'm like, my job's not to control them. My job is to nurture them and to like help figure them out, to guide them. Okay, you're having these emotions right now. Like, you know, it's okay to feel this way. It's not okay to do this. And obviously there's times where it's just like, holy crap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think helps in our relationship? Like, I would say it's our conversations at night where basically we debrief the day.
But also I feel like it's teamwork. Like you don't come home from work and check out. You come home from work and take the girls so I can cook dinner in peace. You know, like you are a huge help. So if I was still trying to like do it all myself at the end of the day, like day after day after day, like it's easy to say I can't do that. I mean, obviously I could. I'd figure it out, but it'd suck.
Yeah. I think I'm able to be a good dad because you're a good mom.
That's nice.
And I can elaborate a little bit, I think. I'm kind of working through this thought. I had it today. It wasn't an epiphany yet, but I had a thought. Because I know when I come home, you appreciate me and you appreciate what I do. And you show it and you say it. And you, like, you're never, I'm important to you, which is important to me. So I feel good when I get home. Yeah. So when I'm feeling good, I'll do good things. Yeah. But if I get home and I feel unappreciated or ignored or like my voice doesn't matter or like all you're doing is talking to your sisters or your friends or whatever, and you like if I feel unimportant to you, then I'll feel crappy and then I'm going to be irritable towards the girls.
When you were saying that, like I had a thought because when you're like, when I come home, I feel important to you. I think both of us are really good at, like, at the end of the day, at the end of your work day, at the end of my day, we never have nothing left for each other. You know, like we are a priority, even though like we're in this season of life. And I think that definitely trickles down. That, like you said, we're a united front. Like I make you a priority. You make me a priority. We make sure that our relationship is number one. Yeah. And that plays into our parenting.
Yeah. Like today, I started super early today, got home super late.
Like 15-hour day.
Yeah. And when I got home, you were doing the laundry or something, but I heard the microwave go off and you had warmed up my dinner. Like that's everything for me. Everything. Like if you were just like folding the laundry and then I had to get my dinner together, I would have done it. I wouldn't have thought it was wrong, but the fact that you did that was like, it was everything. Yeah. It's little things like that where, yeah, I feel important and also appreciated. And you didn't have to say anything. Nothing. So those things go a long way. Yeah. And maybe I like to think I'm like every other guy. So you can try doing these things. I'm saying as far as like what's important, right? I think every guy needs to feel like they're significant in your life. Like they're an important part of your life.
Yeah.
Every guy needs to feel appreciated and valued. I think these with men more than women, like feeling important.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do grand gestures. It's like those things. Or even that you like program the coffee to go off. I can do it.
Yeah.
You do it.
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing. It's very quick and easy.
Yeah.
But I think those things help tremendously with parenting, especially with 2 under 2 and then 3 and under, or whatever we're going to have.
Right. If you guys want to hear more of like these types of conversations, listen to our long haul podcast, because we talk about this type of stuff a lot. You don't have to say sorry. I'm just saying, like, we get into like that type of stuff a lot of marriage and parenting and stuff. What are the age gaps? So Jovi and Tula are 18 months apart. Tula and this baby will be 21 months apart. So Jovi will turn 3 in September, and this baby will be born in November. So we'll have 3 and under.
Yeah, baby.
Crazy. Anything you plan to do differently with this pregnancy or birth? This pregnancy, I am doing some stuff differently. Like I really am prioritizing working out. Even though I don't do it as much as I'd like to still, I just really want to feel strong. Like I have 2 toddlers now carrying up and down stairs. I'm going to have a 3rd kid. When you have that muscle memory, your body remembers it postpartum. So when you start working out again, it's like comes back easier. What was that face, Rob?
No, yeah, you just said we're going to have 3 kids and like.
And then I hit you again. Now you don't want 6.
Kind of had a little panic attack.
Right. That's what I thought. I just want to feel really strong. And labor is like an event. Birth is an event. Like I've had sciatica issues each pregnancy. Like I just really want to feel strong. So working out, and this is my first pregnancy where I've really prioritized. I'm not saying I haven't prioritized nutrition before, because I have. I feel like I'm pretty educated on it, and I have been. But I've also just learned so much more. So I'm prioritizing more, definitely more protein. I eat at least 100 grams of protein a day. And don't follow most of the food things that doctors say. Just follow what I feel like, I guess. And then the birth, I don't think we're really planning much differently with birth. For me, I might take this one birthing course called Pain-Free Birth and see if I can have a pain-free birth.
You usually do some sort of different birth.
Yeah.
You're huge on birth courses and just trying new things. Yeah, learning new things, doing meditations, stretching.
I mean, my last pregnancy, I've never been like a super meditation person, but my last pregnancy, I found this thing on YouTube, which I recommend to everybody. It's called Built to Birth. The birth affirmations on there. What?
No, go ahead.
The birth affirmations on there are amazing. And I started listening to them with Tula, I think at the beginning of my 3rd trimester. And then even during my labor, I remember I was laying in bed listening to a birth affirmation, and I feel like it really, really helped me a lot.
Yeah. It was to the point because you would fall asleep to it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I can't sleep because it's loud and, you're like trying to let it not get distracted and listen to it. I found my vagina flowering. I was like, you got to turn this off. I can't do this anymore. They were good.
Yeah.
But it was legit like months.
Yeah, I really tried to prepare mentally this time. I mean, 'cause especially since the first was in a hospital with an epidural, the second planning an unmedicated birth at a birthing center, I knew that mentally I had to be prepared. So definitely planning on doing that again. Have all my pregnancies felt similar? I'm going to say this has been my best feeling pregnancy so far. I think with Jovi, maybe with Jovi overall, but my nausea with her, do you remember in the beginning, I had like just in 1 week, a few days of like, I even told you, I'm like, if this is what it's like, we're not having more kids. Like I was that nauseous. Like I felt that sick. You had to bring me smoothies in bed.
Maybe twice.
Right. It was very short-lived, but it was awful. And then at the end of that pregnancy, my hip was locking up. And I'd have to, like, if I was driving, pull over and get out of the car.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
It was crazy. And I feel like with Jovi's pregnancy, I felt pretty good overall. Tula, again, the beginning was just really struggling with my miscarriage, and then didn't really feel great till toward the end. Not that I felt bad, but I was just kind of like, whatever. This pregnancy, the beginning, the exhaustion, for sure. I always have insomnia the first trimester, which sucks. And then the first trimester for this one, in the evenings, I would get really nauseous. But never throw up. I've never thrown up any of them. I feel like as soon as I hit 13 weeks, pretty much all my symptoms went away. I've still randomly gotten nauseous. I realize it's usually when I haven't really eaten or I'm like really tired.
Or haven't showered. Catch your BO.
Yeah, for sure. Kicking. So I really don't get nauseous anymore, which is great. I just have some sciatica issues, which Vito loves when I'm limping around the house. Vito's like, stop walking like an 85-year-old. Am I still nursing both girls? No, I weaned Jovi quite a while ago. Just nursing Tulala right now. We'll see how it goes. And then how did I survive the first trimester with toddlers? Probably a lot more TV time than normal. A lot of snacks here. Fend for yourselves. But you just do. You just do. You have no choice.
Yeah, it's survival.
You know? You have no choice but to just keep going. So what are we going to do for housing? People are asking, like, is each kid going to have a room or whatever?
Who knows?
So the plan right now is that we have like a year to figure it out. Because the baby will be in our room for 6-ish months. Who knows? We'll play it by ear. And then we've kept the nursery the same, but we'll probably end up moving Tula and Jovi in the same room. Yeah. And then the baby into the nursery. Yeah. So they'll be sharing. I was trying to think of like ideas the other day, like bedding wise and trying to set up the room and all of that.
I'm not good at any of that stuff.
We'll figure it out. And then do you have any guesses for what we're having?
Girl. Always all girls.
Is that really what you think?
It's all I know, so I can't fathom having a boy. Yeah. I've never had one, so I don't know.
I've never had a strong feeling with any of my pregnancies. With my first, I did feel like I was having a girl. After that, I think mostly with my first, I was like, no, I'm having a girl because everybody said I was having a boy. Mm-hmm. And you know me. Mm-hmm. I just like can't agree with what everybody says.
Yeah, I think girl, just because it's all I know. I'd like to have a boy for the experience of it. But we don't have any names lined up.
For either. I feel like the last two, finding a girl name was really easy. Mm-hmm. I was really surprised that I was like, Jovi, and you're like, yeah. Tula, yeah. Like you hopped on board with
I love those names, yeah.
This time we're having a really hard time agreeing with any name. We thought we had names narrowed down and we didn't.
But also because I love our girls' names. Like I want to have an equally awesome name.
Right, you want to love it.
But with 7 kids, it's going to be very hard to find 7 names.
Oh my gosh. Well, the last 3 are going to be adopted. They're already going to be named, so we don't have to worry about that. When did I start showing? Was it earlier with each baby? I feel like with Tula, it took a while for me to pop. Like I was waiting. And I'm like, I thought it was earlier. And then around 15 weeks, I popped out. This one, around 12 weeks, I was like, we for sure have to tell people because if I run into any of your cousins anywhere, they're going to be like, what's going on, Liz? Like, you could tell for sure. I definitely popped earlier this time around. But I feel like it went from like a small bump to all of a sudden I'm like pregnant. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're showing for sure.
Well, yeah, for sure. And then somebody asked, I had a fibroid removed with removed laparoscopically, and my providers are telling me I need a cesarean. So again, I'm not an expert on that. I'm going to link an episode in the show notes that somebody did who had a home birth after a myomectomy. I have talked to providers who, actually my current birth client that I have right now, she had fibroids removed. laparoscopically, and it's not a problem with her providers at all. So
I
know you know nothing about this.
Right.
So what I would say is get a second opinion.
Right. You could just go get a second opinion, right?
Yeah, I would ask around and find people who had similar experiences and what they were told, because each situation is different. Again, I don't know like your personal whatever, and also like I don't give any medical advice, but from what information I've gathered from clients I've had and interviews I've done is that it's highly possible to have a vaginal birth. It's all about choosing the right provider who's going to support that. So
the way the question was worded, maybe it makes me feel as if this person is questioning their provider,
right?
Which probably isn't a good place to be,
right?
So you might as well shop around. You're paying them,
true.
So
don't even get me started.
But I think that way with everything,
right?
Like I ask my dentist questions.
You ask.
I interview everybody.
I remember at one of the midwife appointments with the last pregnancy, she was like, and they sit down with you.
Yeah.
For like 30 minutes to an hour. And she was like, I have to get to my next appointment, but like, we'll talk more next time because you were just firing away with so many questions.
Yeah.
Because at the birthing center, the first time around, you had a lot of questions. But then when we were talking about it this time, you were saying like, you would never choose to go back to a hospital.
No, unless we had to.
Right. Unless I was high risk and needed it for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But even then,
like, I feel like you've learned a lot to know just even advocating in a hospital.
Well, we've talked about this on our podcast, but I think I was raised to not question authority, but to be confident in asking questions, especially to people who are of authority. And so I've always been like that. Anything. What does that tool do? What's that? Why do you floss for or whatever? You know. Oh, why did you smack my knee with that thing? Always. I was like encouraged to ask questions. So whenever I hear people be like, "Oh, my doctor said this and I don't agree with it," and they're like whispering it, like, hey, ask them.
Right.
Bring it up to them.
Right.
And if you don't like it, fire them.
Yeah.
Like I had a doctor. I went in. I think I've told this story. I had I was burping a lot. And I was like, this is weird. I got to go get it checked out. And as I was in the doctor's office, he never checked my throat, never did any tests. He basically just kind of gave me a physical. And I walked out of there with a brown paper bag full of drugs. Full of drugs. It was like a lunch bag.
Yeah.
I don't know how you used to have the brown paper bags.
Yeah.
Full of drugs. And as I was walking out, I was like, it's a nervous tick. I diagnosed myself. I go, I'm having a nervous tick. And I stopped and haven't done it since. And I threw the drugs away, but I was so upset that he didn't do anything. I asked him what it was. He was
Probably
like,
didn't even like ask you questions.
No. Ask me questions about my family.
What's your diet like? What's going on in your life? How are you feeling at school? Whatever it is.
And he said it was acid reflux. And he gave me all of these drugs. And I was like, it's not that. It's a nervous tick, and it stopped that day.
Yeah.
I was so upset, but I fired him.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Right. It's like in pregnancy, we do feel... I feel like it's easier to feel like less than, like they are this authoritative figure, and like whatever they say goes. And that's not true. Like you have an intuition, you have your preferences even, like... That's what's left out of tons of research too, is like, well, how did the mom feel about this?
Yeah. I think that it's up to, and this can be more of a conversation, but I think it's up to us with our actions when you choose to not go with somebody. If enough of us, and especially let's talk in the birth world, if enough of you women do that,
right,
where you're not okay with their bedside manner, you're not okay with how they're not listening to you, and you're not okay with it, and you choose to go with a different provider, the providers will change. Right. They have to adapt. Right. So if women stand up for themselves and ask, and not even like that it's this big fight that OBs are bad, they're not. Right. But there are bad OBs, right? Just like there are bad, whatever, construction workers or whatever.
Right. There's even bad midwives and bad doulas.
Right, exactly.
Right, it's not just
So the
obese, for
more
sure.
that you stand up for what you believe, or even just stand up for your own voice, they'll change. They have to.
Right. Right. And I've noticed a lot this time because I feel like I've grown as a doula a lot. So the client I have right now, like, I'm just so proud of her because it's not even standing up. It's not a confrontation. Just her being like, no, I'm okay. I don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And her providers being like, okay. And like, she, even at one of her appointments, brought up the research and was like, well, the research shows this. So why would I
And
I
again,
do that?
you don't have to be confrontational. You could say, hey, I
Right.
found this. What do you think about that?
Right.
And then that's what I say about interviewing your providers. It's like, have them answer the question. That way you
Right.
can see how they think.
Mm-hmm.
If
Right.
they, whatever.
And you'll be able to learn more about finding good providers and how to prepare your birth plan when I finally launch my course this year, which I'm really excited about, working on some really exciting stuff because I love educating people.
Yes, you do.
Vito knows I'm the queen of, well, research shows.
Yes.
If that was, what was I, the research shows spice? That was
I don't remember.
something like that, a long haul episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's, again, like, I feel really good about this pregnancy and our birth just because we're super comfortable with our providers. We're very comfortable with the choices that we've made, with the education that we have. I might try something new, take a new course.
Yeah, I might take a Lamaze class.
I've taken a Lamaze class. I've taken a hypnobirthing class. I've taken an evidence-based birth class. I've taken, a lot of that was part of my doula training too. So I've just taken a lot of stuff and I love it. I love learning about it. So yeah, I don't know what I'll try differently this time. I don't know if I'll do a water birth again. If that's where my body tells me to go, I'll jump in. I'm really nervous about having a car baby this time. And I brought that up at my last appointment. She's like, well, we can talk about that. There's things that we can do. But then we never talked about it. So I'm like, what? What can we do about a car baby? I'm not having a car baby.
Yeah. I'm excited to have the baby, obviously, and maybe one more.
Are you going to catch the baby again this time?
Yeah, whatever. I just healthy baby, healthy mama.
I know, but was that like an experience for you?
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool for
What
sure.
if I'm like on land, like just spread eagle, and you're like catching
Liz,
the baby?
I'm more anxious during the whole
Which
experience.
I don't get from you. You were like
Right.
my rock. You are my solid ground. Like, you were such a calming presence to me.
Yeah.
I don't get one, which is amazing, because if I got anxiousness from you, I'd be like, get out.
No, I'm very good at like compartmentalizing it.
Yeah.
But I'm more like scanning the room, trying to see what the midwives are doing. Are they nervous? Because I don't know what's going on. I can't feel what you're feeling. I'm trying to read you. I'm trying to like, is she drinking water? Everything, whatever. For me, it's exhausting in a mental way. For you, because it's like, it is so extreme.
Yeah.
And to watch you go through it, I know it's a beautiful natural thing. That you're built this way, but it's still, for me, it's very intense. And I'm helpless. So for me, I'm just like, just get it over with. Healthy baby, healthy mama. Like, let's make sure everybody's healthy. Let's make sure no one's hemorrhaging or whatever. Like, let's cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
And then you can take
and
a
let's
breath.
go take a nap. Yeah, because it's exhausting for me. It's very stressful.
And I think everybody knows that it's obviously all those things for the woman too. Obviously, but I think that your side of it's like often left out too. Like, that it does take a toll on you too.
Yeah, I think you sent me a video the other day, like some guy playing Xbox while his wife was. He brought the Xbox to the hospital.
I don't know.
And I was like, dude, either this guy has serious like avoidance problems where he's avoiding his,
or he's just a straight a-hole,
or he's just a complete loser.
I've been at some interesting births with some interesting dads.
If I was a
Nobody
doctor, I'd be
that's
like, you
brought
need
an
to leave.
Xbox, but
like, it's not funny. It's not.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I can be super judgmental for the people who are listening, but to me, that's insane.
Yeah, I think that that's pretty insane too.
Yeah.
It's not about you right now, you know? So unless his wife was like, yeah, bring the Xbox.
I guess
it's
if
going to
it
be a
works
long
for
induction
you,
or
yeah.
I'm going to get an
I
epidural
guess,
and nap,
yeah.
like
If it
play your
works for you.
Xbox. Who
If
knows?
that's, that would be the one scenario where
But
it's
that's
like,
not how either of my births have gone. My
Right.
births have been my labors have been very intense the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like obviously I labored at home for quite a while with Tula, but like once we were at the hospital with Jovi and once we were at the birthing center with Tula, it's intense.
When you were in labor at home, I went for a walk with Hutch because I was like, we're going to probably leave soon. And I ran into our neighbor and she's like, oh, isn't your wife due soon? I'm like, yeah, she's in labor right now. She's like, what? I go, yeah. She's like, why aren't you like what? She couldn't wrap her head around it. And I'm like, I'm just getting some energy out. I need I need to go for a walk. I know it's about to happen. And it was just funny. Her look. She's like, well, you should get back home. I'm like, yeah, we're going to go, we're going to leave now. And it's so intense. I don't know how you guys do it.
Well, apparently you said I made it look easy the last time. So
You did.
And it was
not easy, but relative to the first one.
Right. Two completely different experiences.
It was so much faster. It was
And that's like what I pray for this time is just that we don't have another sunny side up baby. Like that really does. And that's like something there's things you can do to make sure the baby's in the right position, which I did them all for both births.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them the baby was and the other one the baby wasn't.
You have sunny side up eggs every day for a month, right?
Yep. You don't want the baby sunny side up. Though.
Right. It counteracts it.
Oh, got it.
Those are things that like my grandmother would say.
Oh, for sure. The old Italian
She's like, oh, you're sunny side up. You need to swallow a garlic clove.
Right.
Totally. And it'll flip the baby because...
Yeah. There's like the Italian one where they're like, if you have an itch somewhere when you're pregnant, the baby's going to have a birthmark there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I always have itches in random places.
Yeah.
No.
You should do a segment where it's like crazy cultural old wives' tales or whatever around pregnancy.
Fun. Yeah. All right. Well, we will wrap up. I want to thank everybody for sending in the questions. We're super excited. I will be sharing more of my journey on the upcoming podcasts and just checking in with you guys and letting you know what's going on. As you can tell, one of the major things going on right now is being out of breath. Earlier when you got home, I came downstairs, then I went back upstairs to continue putting away some laundry. I got upstairs and I sat on the bed and I was just listening to myself breathing and I'm like, I am so out of breath. I don't feel like out of shape.
Right.
Just walking up the stairs, I was like, like just breathing so hard. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And some people had commented once I announced the pregnancy, they were like, I was wondering if you were because of how out of breath you were on your stories. Like the last like couple weeks, you were out of breath in your stories. So I was like wondering if you were pregnant. And I'm like, yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's pregnancy things that happen that you don't think are real things.
That one I would imagine is real.
But there is one, which I haven't really had this time yet, where like farts just come out of me and I can't control it. Like I don't, it's just like,
no,
comes out.
that's you just being,
no,
you care less.
No,
yeah.
it's not.
You're like, I'm pregnant.
I literally take a step and I'm like
gross,
each step
Liz.
And I'm like, what just happened? I couldn't help it. It just came out of me.
Well, yeah.
And then you're like, Liz, and I'm like, I can't help it. And you're like, okay.
Just squeeze.
No. There's just things that, and me like gagging when I brush my teeth. I can't help it. You're like, I gag hard.
Dude, you could hear it if you're outside.
Yeah, the random symptoms. But I've also been keeping notes on like every single week and like updates and how I've been feeling or things that have happened. So maybe I'll do a blog again like I did with Jovi.
Cool.
And update that. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And we'll talk to you guys next week.